Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Force with some more Heroes of the Storm discussion. BlizzCon brought about a heap of new information, specifically for one of my favorite games at the moment, which is Heroes of the Storm. We got details on brand new heroes, new upcoming Battlegrounds, and then some discussion of ranked play. So in this video, I like to break down pretty much everything we've learned about, give you guys a nice little synopsis, and we're going to go ahead and start off with some of the brand new heroes. So starting off, we have got Miss Jaina Proudmoore. Jaina is a ranged assassin with a Frost Mage focus. Her first ability is Frostbolt, a skill shot that will deal damage to the first target it hits. She's also got Blizzard, which is an AoE that launches 2 waves of ice from the sky, and then Cone of Cold, a frontal short cone ability that does damage and slows enemies. Now her combat trait is Frostbite. This makes it so that abilities put the debuff of Chill on your opponents, which will slow their movement speed, as well as grant a 50% damage bonus for follow-up spells. Her 2 heroic abilities are Ring of Frost, which puts a ring on the ground that will snare and deal damage to enemies, as well as Water Elemental, summoning yourself a cute little water pet that will attack the opponents. Next up, we have got the Lost Vikings. This is a very unique hero, and that is the first hero in Heroes of the Storm that has individually microable units. So these are units that you can move around on their own. It's also a hero that you have to select your abilities as you level up. So I'm not going to tell you all of the abilities because first of all, we don't know at the moment. But just to give you a few examples. One example is a jump ability, which will make it so that all of your Vikings become invulnerable and jump up in the air for a second and a half. There's Spin to Win, which will make all of the Vikings spin around, dealing damage in an area around them. Each of the Vikings by themselves has sort of a unique attack style and movement pattern. You can split them all up, soak up experience from all the lanes. I think we're going to see some very interesting tactical competitive play with this hero. And then the last hero we got a ton of detail about was Thrall. Thrall is going to be a melee style assassin, but he's also got an elemental focus in the various abilities that he has. The first of which is Chain Lightning, which will deal damage to an initial target and then half that amount to random targets that are nearby. Feral Spirits will send out a Feral Spirit forward, dealing damage, and if it hits a hero, the wolf will stop and root that hero in place. And then Wind Fury, increasing the move speed of Thrall and making your next 3 basic attacks swing 100% faster, making them basically almost instantaneous. And then the combat trait for Thrall is the Frostwolf Resilience, which makes it so that when you deal damage, you gain a stack, and at 5 stacks, you get a self-heal. Thrall's heroic talents include Sundering, which will sunder the earth along a line, dealing damage and pushing enemies to the side, or Earthquake, which will summon a massive earthquake that periodically slows and damages enemies. Now, we also got a little bit of information about Sylvanas, but this was mostly focused on character design and prior iterations of her abilities. We didn't get many set details onto her current kit. What we do know is that she's got the Black Arrows combat trait, which makes it so that her basic attacks and abilities will stun enemy minions, mercs, and structures for a second. Now, the attack speed appeared fast enough so that you can constantly attack a tower and have it not attack you back. So very, very cool sieging style ranger. There was also a display of an ability of hers that will make it so that you can turn mercenaries to fight for your side. So I'm very intrigued to see what they decide to pick for the final toolkit for Sylvanas, but I am liking what we've seen so far. And then finally, we got a little bit of a sneak peek in some character animations for the Skeleton King, the Butcher, and the Crusader from the Diablo franchise. And this was coming off the heels of the discussion of a Diablo Battleground, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But first, I'd like to talk with you about competitive play, ranked play. Specifically, we got details on draft mode, as well as 2 separate ranked play leagues. So draft mode, this is going to be great for things like tournaments, setting up scrims against your friends, playing with your friends. In draft mode, teams will be doing an alternate picking of heroes, and there can be no duplicate heroes on either side. So currently, when you're playing Heroes of the Storm, there can be an Arthas on my team and an Arthas on the opposing team. That will not be the case in draft mode. A coin flip will decide who gets to pick first, and this is an option specifically in custom games, so you're going to know what map you're playing on before you go through and pick draft mode. Unfortunately, though, they've decided to go with no hero bans initially. Now, this is something that could potentially change in the future. Their argument for this is because of their design philosophy for Heroes of the Storm and trying to keep games an average of 20 minutes long, they felt that the ban time added too much pre-game time to this, so it's something they may consider for the future, specifically, obviously, for a tournament-style system, but as of now, no bans will be in draft mode. Now let's get into ranked play. This is the really big thing. This is the skill-based system where you're going to be matched up against other people with the same skill, and this is what Heroes desperately needs that it doesn't have at the moment. So there's actually two separate leagues. There's the Hero League, and then there's Team League. Hero League, any number of players can queue up, and it's going to be using an ELO-based matchmaking system. So you can go in with a team of 2 players, 3, 4, or a team of 5 players. Now they talked about how they're going to try to make certain that whenever you're playing, if you are a pre-made of 3 and you get matched with 2 randoms, that you will also ideally play against another pre-made of 3 with 2 randoms. And if after a certain amount of time they can't find that, they might go down to a pre-made of 2 with 3 randoms, or a pre-made of 4 with 1 random. But ideally, if you're just a pre-made of 2 or 3, you're not going to get matched against a pre-made of 5. Now, to enter in the Hero League, it requires that you have a character level of 30, so they're trying to make sure that players have some experience before they jumped into this rank play. And then there is the Team League. This is like the top of the top. These are for pre-made 5-man teams that will have specific unique names and a specific matchmaking rating themselves. Now, to enter the Team League, you actually have to set up a team and name the team of up to 9 players, so 5 players per game, and then having options for substitutes if someone's not showing up one night. And to enter the Team League, it requires a character level of 40. Now, in terms of how they're doing the ranking in ranked play, the ranking system is actually heavily influenced by Hearthstone. You're going to start off with a base rank of 50, and then you will work your way up to a top rank of 1. So you're going to gain points or lose points as you go through wins and losses, and then those points determine your ranked. Now, depending on who you're playing against, the amount of points you get will change. So if a skill team plays against a lower skilled team, they will not earn as many points when they win. However, if the less skilled team, based on that ranking system, wins, they will earn more points than they would have if they faced someone of similar skill. Now, Heroes of the Storm will have seasons, and the rank starts over with each season. However, you will retain points based on your last season's rank, which is also something similar to what Hearthstone does. Depending on how high up in the rank you climb, you're going to get those extra points to start off that season a little bit further. And then your skill rating, your ELO-based skill rating, will also persist through the seasons. And with all this talk of competitive play, they briefly addressed levers. Their current system for dealing with levers is lackluster, as it appears, at least on the surface level, to be almost non-existent. What they plan to do in the future is, if you get marked a lever, so after you've left a certain number of games, your account will be flagged as a lever. You will see that you are flagged as a lever, and you will only get match made into games with other levers. And then finally, I'd like to talk about some of the new Battlegrounds that will be coming. The one we get the most detail about was the Sky Temple. This game has the same core elements as the other maps, with mercs and towers, so it's got the same fundamental principles. However, this is taking place in a brand new universe that hasn't been seen in any other Blizzard game. This is an ancient Egyptian style universe with temples and aqueducts. It's a floating city in the sky. The general gimmick of this particular battleground is that you've got capture points in which you move on to them. You have to kill these temple guardians that will come out and try to attack you, and then once you control this capture point, an obelisk will attack your enemy's base. The second battleground that we got some detail about was the Tome of the Spider Queen. This does take place in the same universe as the Sky Temple. It's an entirely interior battleground in which your goals are to kill minions, collect gems, and then summon the Spider Queen herself. And finally, we got a sneak peek at an upcoming Diablo 3 themed map. This is going to be like a heaven versus hell, light versus dark map, with one side being light and one side being dark. And it's a very cool style, very, very reminiscent of Diablo 3's sort of sanctuary representation of this zone. And they talked a little bit about the design. They're still in very, very early progress. They've got a ton of iteration to do, but along with this, we're going to see a big burst of a big influx of Diablo heroes. And again, that goes all the way back to our discussion of them adding the Skeleton King, the Butcher, and the Crusader eventually to the game. And that will pretty much do it, guys. A nice little recap here for all of the new information that we got from BlizzCon 2014 pertaining to Heroes of the Storm. Hope you guys enjoyed this roundup video. And following up this, I'm actually going to do a gameplay video. I recorded one earlier this afternoon, and it was hella awesome. So hope you guys check that out as well. But either way, have a fantastic day. I will see you guys tomorrow. Keep watching and keep owning.